Say, you know what the it is, nigga. On game, say.
NBA YoungBoy now faces nearly 2 years in prison on federal gun charges.
I have all bad days. I think I need help.
A child barely old enough to read is already writing rap lyrics, while the man who should be raising him is locked inside a prison cell for the next 55 years.
I don't care. That's what I gotta say today. Lanny, I'm gonna come back and get you.
You're gonna take me to the store.
I'm gonna come back and get you.
His mother is rarely home, stretched thin just trying to survive. Before most kids even understand what danger is, Kentrell Goulden is already living inside it. By 16, he has survived a shattered neck, witnessed his closest friend get gunned down in front of a crowd, lost the one person who ever protected him, and found himself facing charges that could erase his future before it begins. While teenagers his age worry about school friends and dreams, Kentrell is worried about staying alive. How does a childhood this broken create one of hip-hop's biggest stars? And how did he survive it? By the end of this story, you'll understand why so much of what Kentrell did was shaped long before he ever picked up a microphone. Because this isn't just the story of NBA YoungBoy, this is the story of broken homes. And once you see where he came from, everything starts to make sense.
I'm 17 years old, North Baton Rouge, Chippewa 38th Street, growing up in Louisiana shit. So, it's a challenge, life lesson, shit.
Kentrell Deshaun Goulden was born on October 20, 1999, and raised in North Baton Rouge, specifically on 38th Street. This part of the city had nothing in common with the college town image most people associate with Louisiana. There were no safe neighborhoods, no peaceful streets, no childhood innocence. North Baton Rouge was dominated by drug trafficking, gang violence, armed robberies, and unsolved murders. Violent crime wasn't rare here, it was routine. Gunshots were background noise, police sirens blended into daily life, and kids learned very early that survival mattered more than dreams. Snitching was a death sentence, silence was survival, and from the moment Kentrell could walk, this was the world around him. But the chaos didn't start outside, it started inside his own family. His father, Jeffrey Tate, was deeply involved in street crime. When Kentrell was just 8 years old, his father took part in a brutal armed robbery at a Baton Rouge convenience store. Along with 3 accomplices, including his own brother, Jeffrey stormed into the store, zip-tied the employee, beat him, demanded money, and then shot him in the leg before fleeing.
Okay, I'm glad you called, man. Glad you called.
I love you, Papa.
I love you too.
That crime sent shockwaves through the community. Within months, Jeffrey Tate was sentenced to 55 years in prison, 10 for armed robbery, 50 years for attempted first-degree murder. Just like that, Kentrell's father was gone, and it gets worse. The person who helped put his father away was his own uncle. Jeffrey Tate's brother cooperated with the police and provided testimony that led directly to the conviction. That betrayal fractured the family and taught Kentrell an early brutal lesson. Loyalty is fragile, and betrayal often comes from the people closest to you.
This Miss Sharana, and this is my Shake Back performance with Stay Down Productions.
Niggas think they hoes, but hoes, we hoes too. Two can play that game, bitch, we do what you do.
That mindset stayed with him. On his mother's side, the story wasn't any better. His uncle, Andy Goulden, was also involved in robbery, but unlike Jeffrey Tate, Andy never made it to prison. During a robbery attempt, he was shot in the head and killed. Another family member gone, another violent ending. Another lesson is that crime didn't just lead to jail, it often led to death. Years later, YoungBoy would reference his uncle's murder in his music, openly acknowledging that robbery and street life ran deep in his bloodline. For a child growing up surrounded by this, crime didn't feel like a bad decision, it felt inherited. With his father locked away and his uncles either dead or in prison, the responsibility of raising Kentrell fell almost entirely on his mother, Shahonda Goulden.
Shout out to Real Tune TV.
She was young, she worked non-stop, multiple jobs, long hours, constant exhaustion. Most days she dropped her children off before sunrise and didn't return until long after dark. And as he grew older, he openly expressed resentment toward his mother, feeling like he was never the priority, feeling like survival mattered more than love, feeling like he had to raise himself. And that void was filled by only one person, his grandmother, Alice Golden. She became the foundation of his entire childhood. Living on 38th Street, she raised him inside the same violent neighborhood, but gave him something rare: consistency. Her house became his safe space, the one place where chaos stopped at the door. In a world filled with fear, unpredictability, and violence, she gave him structure and emotional security. She was his home, but trauma doesn't wait. As a toddler, Kentrell broke his neck while playing with other children. Doctors initially misdiagnosed the injury and sent him home with a soft brace. A week later, after his pain refused to fade, a second exam revealed the truth. His neck was fractured. He was forced to wear a metal halo brace screwed directly into his skull to immobilize his head while his spine healed. For months he couldn't move normally, couldn't play, couldn't live like other kids. And when the brace finally came off, it left 3 permanent scars on his forehead. Scars that later became targets for mockery, disrespect, and bullying. By 8 or 9 years old, he was already running errands for drug dealers, acting as a middleman, learning how money moved, learning who controlled blocks, and learning how silence kept people alive. His mother tried to shield him by keeping him with his grandmother as much as possible, but by then, the influence of the streets had already taken hold. And then, everything changed.
I met Meek in Philadelphia. I went to his condo.
At just 10 years old, Kentrell watched his closest friend and mentor, David Cobb, known as Lil Dave, get shot and killed at a public memorial event. Think about that. A gathering meant to honor teenagers already lost to gun violence became another crime scene. Hundreds of people witnessed the shooting. No one spoke. It forced him to confront death face to face. It taught him that violence could strike anywhere, anytime, even in places meant for peace. And it planted a dangerous idea in his mind, that fear was weakness and retaliation was survival. Not long after, his grandmother's health began to decline. Years of stress, exhaustion, and emotional burden caught up to her. Between 2016 and 2017, Alice Golden passed away. The one person who truly loved him, gone. Her death devastated him.
But I think I wrote my first song when I was in like 2nd, 3rd grade. After that, I carried on. I never wanted her to help me with a song at all. Just some shit I don't know why.
YoungBoy later admitted that he has never felt the same love since losing her, and that the only time he experiences anything close to it is when he performs on stage. Without her, he spiraled. He dropped out of school in 9th grade. Robberies became routine. Hustling became survival. Violence became normal. At just 14 years old, Kentrell was arrested for robbery and sent to juvenile detention for 6 months. And here's the question: did that save him, or did it push him deeper? Inside detention, he began recording music seriously. He poured his trauma, rage, and grief into lyrics. But leaving detention didn't mean escaping danger. In November 2016, his cousin was shot and killed, and retaliation came fast. Hours later, Kentrell and his associates opened fire during a drive-by shooting. Bullets tore through the streets. One of his friends was hit in the neck. Lives were nearly lost. At just 16 years old, he was facing the possibility of spending most of his life in prison. Prosecutors prepared heavy charges. His past record worked against him. Everything pointed toward decades behind bars. And this is the moment everything could have ended. But a plea deal reduced his charge to aggravated assault with a firearm. That legal break became the thin line between a life sentence and a rap career. After his release, Kentrell devoted himself fully to music. He recorded constantly, flooding the internet with songs that reflected his pain, anger, grief, and survival. His lyrics weren't stories, they were confessions. In 2015 and 2016, he released multiple projects, including Life Before Fame and Mind of a Menace. But it was 38 Baby that changed everything. By 17, NBA YoungBoy became one of the fastest rising artists in hip-hop, millions of streams, national attention, a fan base that felt his pain. But here's the truth. Behind the success was still the same kid from 38th Street, still shaped by a loss, still haunted by a trauma, still carrying scars no amount of money could erase. And now you understand why his music sounds the way it does. And by the end of this story, you can't help but ask, how much of this was really his choice?